We have a very special guest with us who is Billy Mills, the Olympic gold medalist, broke a world record years and years ago. And Billy Mills has been in Michigan this week, and he's at Grand Valley State University right now. A little shout out for the university. I'm on the Native American Advisory Council. And Billy, you're going to be on tonight, but before we want to do this interview, and welcome to the land of the three fires, the people of the three fires, the Potawatomi, Ojibwa, and the Ottawa. And how's the state been so far in West Michigan?
It's been incredible. The snow's been beautiful, and a highlight this afternoon was trying some of your maple syrup. So so far it's been fantastic.
Yes, and we're happy to have you. And before we really start talking about some of the questions that I have, I want to. How many of these events how many presentations, speeches around the country do you do annually? And you actually are a world traveler, so tell us.
Early on, my wife has a speakers bureau, so we were booking about 150 engagements a year, but half of those were other Olympians, and then I was taking 75. Then we just start cutting back, and now if I take 2 a month, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. And we're using it actually as a form of retirement and vacation. Mm-hmm. So we've enjoyed the places we've gone.
And we're happy to have you here in Michigan, and it is a nice time of year. It's still technically fall, but we got the early snowfall, and we're happy to have you. Now, in your travels, what is the one message you really want Native people to get these days, especially the youth?
I think there's actually two messages. I want the youth to know that it takes a dream in any ways. For me, it took a dream to heal a broken soul. And as Indigenous people, we've all faced trauma. Mm-hmm. So I want them to know that a dream is vital. We need the dream. And the dream will take you to a passion. You develop the skills to equal the passion, and you bring them together, and magical things can happen. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I want them and all young people to know that they're our future, and we have to pursue a sense of national unity through the dignity, character, beauty of our national diversity.
Yeah, that really is important. Tell us about winning the gold medal back in 1964. That was quite an accomplishment, and it was 58 years ago. But every time I see the video of it, I still get very excited because I know how it's going to end. But it's still very exciting to see. So,
well, the gift was, I call it a gift. It was in so many ways sacred. I'm coming off the curve, going low blood sugar, hypoglycemic, and my thoughts were, I may never be this close again. I've got to do it now. And then lifting my knees, pumping my arms, but not closing fast enough. A runner from lane 1, Clark and Gamoudi were in front of me. A runner from lane 1 goes behind them in front of me. I'm coming off the curve in lane 4. I look, and I see an eagle on his singlet. And that was so powerful. My dad used to say, you do these things, son, and someday you can have wings of an eagle. It was wings of an eagle. I can win. Then I may never be this close again. I've got to do it now. Wings of an eagle. I can win. Then the tape breaks across my chest. Mm-hmm. It was so powerful, so beautiful, so emotional, and instantly I knew that moment was a gift. Mm-hmm. And we have in our Native American ways, our 7th generation being born today, and each of our 7th generation members, they have a gift.
Mm-hmm. Well, this summer I was in Albuquerque, and I was at the Society of American Indian Dentists. And Native News Online, we helped put together some, actually a live stream, but I interviewed several young people who were either in dental school, who were Native, or recently had graduated within maybe 2 or 3 years. And I met a young woman from Phoenix. She actually is a dentist at the Phoenix clinic there, and IHS, and she told me you changed her life. Dr. Kristen Hasse. Tell us about your relationship. Now, she was part of a grant that you guys had given out?
Correct. On the 50th anniversary of me winning the gold medal at the Olympic Games, winning a gold medal was a dream. So I wanted to help inspire, for example, the dreams of our youth, and empower just the visions of our elders. We started the Dream Starters program, and she was one of our participants. She had a dream. She partnered with a nonprofit organization, shared her dream with us of how it could empower the Native American community. So she was the recipient of a $10,000 grant. She used that $10,000 grant to inspire, to find the scholarships and to assist and prepare at least 30 other young Native American men and women to become dentists.
That is phenomenal. When you think that $10,000, that's one of the best investments you can make. The idea that 30 people will now be part of that. And one thing I learned while I was at the Society of American Indian Dentists conferences, there's a lack of American Indian dentists.
Yes.
We don't have one dentist per tribe. There are only about 400 dentists who are Native American in the United States. Of course, federally recognized tribes, and there are state recognized tribes, but federally recognized tribes, we have 574. So not even one per tribe. So the idea that it reminds me of a phrase. I was on a board a long time ago for a foundation, and they talked about an acorn to an oak, and that $10,000. The idea that through Dr. Hassi's and the money that she raised from you really has turned into an oak, and 30 people involved with either dentistry or some type of medical field, and we have such a lack. So that, to me, that is a very phenomenal story. So congratulations.
Thank you. And your example is perfect, because some of those that she recruited to dentistry, they are doing the same thing. So it's multiplying.
Yes.
If it's not in dentistry, it's in the other phase of the health field, but making it more quality way of life for so many indigenous people. Your example is perfect.
Well, and one thing that I do know that in this country, rock stars come and go, movie stars, and sometimes they have one or two successful movies, and then you never hear about them again. And sometimes People Magazine or whatever will say, "Where are they now?" But Billy, you have been constant. You have been a constant influence among Native Americans for decades, and you could argue worldwide. What do you think was the impetus that kept you going? Why are you still relevant? How do you have this staying power?
Well, I thank you for the compliments, but what empowered me, of course, when my dad died, he told me I had broken wings, and it takes a dream to heal broken souls. He also told me to take the culture, the traditions, the spirituality, extract from them the virtues and the values that empower them, and put those virtues and values into my life for direction, for confidence, for clarity of mind, to make positive decisions and stay the course. Then, as I prepared to go to the Olympic Games, Oliver Red Cloud, descendant of Chief Red Cloud, said, if you go to the Olympic Games, humble yourself to honor your family, to honor our tribal nation, to honor indigenous nations, to honor the United States of America. Then he spoke in Lakota, but the way I understood it was, and do this in an honorable way, in a sacred way, do it in a way because of our younger generation coming up, the seventh generation. So I believe in the youth of America. I believe in the young Indian youth, and it's my passion. I love what I do, and it's so empowering and so sacred for me, emotional for me, to see the successes of our young people. And we are getting many successes from our young people.
That is nice, and I know when I travel and I go to National Native American Organization conferences, and you see the youth that are there, and it is very, very inspiring, and I really like your message about the dream. And I know in America, I'm not so sure people are taught to dream, and you said something the other night at one of the presentations that made me think that, and you said that in America, people don't raise their hands when you ask about dreams. So tell us about that.
Okay, when I've gone to Japan, I've asked, who's willing to share a dream with me? Every hand went up. And other parts of the world, and in non-native schools, for example, there's half a dozen hands going up. The Native American world, you don't see the hands going up, but I don't look for the hands because I was there when I had this incredible dream to become an Olympian, but yet I wouldn't raise my hand if somebody asked me. So I started looking early in my life in the eyes of our Indian youth, and oh my, you can see so many positive, it's just like a sacredness, the sparkling, the energy in their eyes, and I'm saying that's their dream. And more are starting to partner. They have a friend, they're starting to share their dream with their friend. Their friend will share his or her dream, and that power just doubles. So I have, after I leave a community where maybe nobody raised a hand, but I saw the dreams in the eyes, many times we get a number of letters where they're telling Pat and I their dream, and it's so powerful. I sit there reading the letters crying because I knew I saw a dream in their eyes, and then they're sharing them with me.
Well, you certainly are inspiring, and I know that you received a Citizen's Honor distinction from President Obama. Tell us about going to the White House back in 2013, right?
So, correct. I've had the pleasure of meeting every president since Kennedy. They were not always presidents at the time, except the second Bush, and then of course 45 Trump. But meeting Obama, I read all about him. I read his books. I studied, and then I voted for him. I'm excited. I'm waiting. He walks in. He's tall. His arms are moving kind of in slow motion, and I'm anxious to see him because people in the White House showed him the Olympic video of me winning the gold medal, and they told me that one person was kind of down, not feeling well, and he said, "Go watch Billy's video." So I'm anxious to meet the president. He walks in and he stops and says, "Whoa, Billy," called me by my first name. "You and I have a lot in common. We both have beautiful wives and beautiful daughters." So 4 daughters, and my wife fell in love with him. He's just so gorgeous, and we're visiting. Megan moved up close to President Obama to stand by him because she's the shortest. And he said, "Megan, what happened to you? Didn't Billy feed you enough chicken?"
That's funny.
Our daughter's having a great time. Well, a media person later said, "Did that offend you?" And I said, "President Obama and I were on the same page." And then he's ready to leave, and my wife, Pat, said, "President Obama, may I have another hug?" And as if she was a mother, his mother, he hugged her. It's so gentle, so compassionately gave her a hug. Then the daughters lined up. And for me, the moment was, I get the Presidential Citizens Medal, and he's leaning forward to give it to me. So I took advantage of something maybe I shouldn't have done. I just said, "President Obama, I've traveled to 110 countries throughout the world, and I personally feel so blessed that you today are our president and the leader of the free world." So his head stays still. Time goes by. Then he looked up and said, "You're still fast."
I love that.
So he didn't accept it, didn't reject it. He just listened to me and then said, after about 2 or 3 seconds, "You're still fast." So it was a highlight, one of the highlights of my life, to meet President Obama.
Now, Billy, earlier this summer, I called you, and it was we had gotten word that the International Olympic Committee had restored solely the gold medals that belonged to Jim Thorpe. And tell us how you reacted when you first got that word.
Well, you've got to understand, because the way I reacted was I cried. I was so thrilled, and it was so long in coming. I've often wondered as a young boy, when I read about him, on my reservation, the high school is the Thorpes. Of course, there's other high schools now on the reservation. But I read about him, and I knew that he was the greatest Olympian of the 20th century. And I wanted to be an Olympian, but I could never be a Jim Thorpe. To me, Jim Thorpe was a god. I studied Greek mythology, and Zeus was the Olympic god and dwells on Mount Olympus. And I say that's where my god, my Olympic god, Jim Thorpe, dwells on Mount Olympus. And with me being once #1 in the world, 1 gold medal, 1 world record, the three highest things that you can achieve in track and field, I say I've earned the right to climb Mount Olympus and maybe hang out with Seuss and Jim Thorpe and some of the other great Olympic gods in my mind. But before sunset, I have to hike back down. So I was so thrilled because the times I faced racism, what would inspire me was, gosh, Jim Thorpe accomplished what he did, and he faced more racism than I did. The times there were hardships, and Pat and I crossing New Mexico, going into 5 motels as a young lieutenant in the Marine Corps, 1 child, trying to find a motel, tired from driving all day, hours of driving, and vacancy. As I walk in, they turn and say, "We just sold out." Five motels, and I told Pat, I drove back to the first one, "You go in." So my wife, Patricia, goes in, and in total innocence, she walks out and said, they had lots of rooms. And it was just, "Pat, get in, let's go to bed, I'm tired." But anytime I ran into struggles, what I'll call systemic racism, Jim Thorpe crossed my mind. So in a sense, my God was there with me.
Oh, that's great. And then those medals are restored, and you told me back then, for the first time, you felt like you were a true Olympian. So
Well,
that's
absolutely.
incredible.
To sum it up in one sentence, I felt I was an Olympian.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. One last question. If there's anyone in history you wish you could have met, you've traveled the world, you've met a lot of important people, but who would that person have been in history?
Well, there are many I would have loved to meet, but I'm going to say Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
My wife and I were on one of the ships in South Africa, Cape Town, going out to visit his cell where he could view Cape Town. And they asked if we would give up our seats. They brought in a number of young African-American children because they're going out, they're learning about Nelson Mandela, the years he spent in prison for seeking 1 vote for 1 person. So we gladly gave up. But I asked a question. I think that's great. No, I made a statement. I think that's great that you're taking the young people out to study about him, how he was put in prison for 1 person, 1 vote. And the response was, we have to. We want to, but we have to. It's just not being fair, and we'll never be able to reach and inspire them to the depths we want to. And here in America, we're choosing in some places critical race theory, the truth being too extreme to teach.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Glad you caught that. And to our viewers, we had the privilege of interviewing Billy Mills, the great Billy Mills, and thank you, Chi McGwitch, for tuning in, and next week we'll have another guest, so have a good week.
If you appreciate what we do here at Native News Online, we invite you to donate to support our continued work covering Indian country. You can scan this code with your smartphone or go to the link located below this video to donate today. We greatly appreciate your support. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And be sure to scan this code or go to the link below to subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you for joining us today, and please be sure to join us again next week for another episode of Native Bidaské. Chi McGwitch.